Hey, good day, fellow deal makers. After doing this 1,000 times, you would think that I get my like the stutter or the misstart, but no. This is a part of the journey of being a deal maker and being a podcaster is just going through it. And I wanted to say this is what I want to say. Good day, fellow deal makers. But I screwed that up. But we're gonna move on from this, and I just want to show you guys the mission and purpose of the show. Out of all the cool things you guys are going to learn about deals and special purpose acquisition companies, lemonade stands, and flipping land and buying and selling crap, like out of all of this, the mission and purpose of our PR firm and everything we do is to put people together. All right. So, our guest, you get access to our guest. Their contact information will be in the show notes. As you guys are hearing in the audience, hearing cool people beyond my stutters and my mistakes, if you hear someone that's cool and you want to connect with them, their contact information will be in the show notes. Connect with them, do a deal, and be like, hey, I heard you on the Deal Scout. That's the mission and purpose of the show. So with that, we go out into the community and we look for cool types of deals and cool types of deal makers. And then we want to share their story here. All right. So with that, we brought on Pete to talk to us a little bit about what he does in the world of land flipping and investing in land and developing and real estate. So super interesting to me, and I wanted to learn more. So might as well record it and share it with you guys. So Pete, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Josh. Great to be here.
Yeah, man, it's good to
Hey,
it's good to
believe me,
see you.
your intro was great. I don't know, we're all not perfect, especially me. So
Yeah. Well, you sound great. We
stutters
were
every
talking
day.
we were talking mics beforehand, and you're about to, can I talk about your upcoming thing that you're about to launch?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So you're about to launch a podcast show, and I love talking with other podcasters and people in the world. Like tell us a little bit, cast some vision. What will it
Sure.
look like?
Yeah, it's called Turning Profit, and it's myself and it's my wife Heather, and she's been my partner in marriage and in our business for over 20 years now. So we've learned a lot along the way, and this podcast is pretty much exclusively focused on real estate investing, different models, trying to get in deep on various aspects and ways you can make money with real estate investing. We'll do a lot of content regarding land investing, which is what we do as our primary business. So we'll get into that really deep as well. But just looking to get out there, and we've been talking about doing a show for quite some time. Finally, is coming to fruition.
Why what was the day that the light bulb went on and you're like, hey, we should have a podcast show? Like what was that?
Well, it was Heather. Heather's always been on me about that. She's always listened to a lot of podcasts. I was kind of a late adopter on listening to podcasts, and now I listen to many, but so she was always a big fan of podcasts, and she's like, I think we would do really well on one, and we have a lot to share, and it would be a lot of fun. So she's been harassing me for a while, and we've been talking about it, and it just kind of this year the stars sort of aligned,
Yeah,
and I brought on a team that's going to be producing it for me,
cool.
and then I brought on an assistant that helped me kind of organize a lot of things. That now it's actually going to happen. We're going to launch at the beginning of the year, so I don't know when this will air, but
It's
pretty
coming
soon.
soon.
Yeah, pretty soon.
Yeah. So you guys are expert land flippers and real estate investors. Kind of give us an idea of what you guys do day to day basis.
Yeah, pretty much my day is at least Monday through Friday is when I get in front of my computer. I've got a team that helps me out with pretty much all aspects of the business at this point, but I'm just kind of reviewing potential deals that we've got coming in, deciding if it's a good match for us, if we may need to renegotiate, or basically if it's a good property that we want to buy. So I do those kind of high level approvals, and also seems like a lot of my time is spent sort of putting out mini fires and kind of making sure deals get closed and purchases get done, and all those kind of things that fall between the cracks that the business owner has to do, I guess.
Sure. And you talk about you're doing this with your wife, and you've been married, greater than 20 years, and you guys are business partners and working through things. Like, talk to us about the dynamics of being married to someone that you're doing business with.
Right. Yeah, so it's really worked out well for us over the years. First of all, we get along really well, and we know at this point, when something's important to me, she realizes that, and it's important to me, and she'll kind of back off, at least, if she has an opinion on something. And the same with her. If she's really adamant about something, I know when to say, hey, we'll go with it. So we don't have a lot of arguments or, any sort of disputes like that. We've kind of figured out like what our lanes are, and we each kind of stay in our own lanes, and then kind of the bigger picture decisions we collaborate on. And if one of us feels really strongly one way or the other, then we kind of go with that. So it's
Yeah.
been great. I mean, she does kind of the back end side of things. She's really um the handles all the money, bookkeeping, um all the kind of back end administrative stuff that needs to happen for a business. And then I'm pretty much on the front end of it, finding deals, working with all the properties, everything that needs to happen with that.
Yeah.
So
So
let's
you're
go.
kind of the front, the tip of the
Yes,
spear, going out
exactly.
making the deals, the visionary, and she's the integrator, keeping the business together, like making everything
Exactly. Yeah.
work. Got
Yep.
it. So as you guys are building this, the family business, like give us an idea of like how did you guys get started in this world of land flipping and buying this kind of stuff? Like how did that start for you?
We've been involved in real estate, I guess you could say, since about the year 2000 when we bought our first home. And it was like a lot of other people, we bought a home and we ended up doing pretty well on it just because we held it a couple years and the market appreciated a little bit. So we made like $50,000 and we were like, this is great.
Let's
This
do that
is,
again.
yeah, I know. So we bought it for 200, I think sold it for 265, but we ended up with 50,000 after it was all said and done. And we kind of got hooked a little bit. We were like, can it be this easy? We'll just buy more houses and do this more times. We bought another house, kind of a more expensive house, fixed it up a little bit, resold that one. Then we started flipping homes. So we got really into that. And that was before the real estate crash in the, 2007 through 2009 period.
Yeah.
So flipping homes was great for a while there. And then when the market crashed, it wasn't so great. So it kind of shifted. I mean, in the meantime, I had gotten my broker's license out here in California. So I started after the market crash, Headler's like, hey, you should get into bank owned properties, like selling REO listings. So I got really heavily involved in that. Those things were still selling, even at the worst market crash of all time, pretty much. Uh, it was like a feeding frenzy for those properties
Sure.
from investors. So it's not like things weren't selling. It's just that I guess the prices like reset overnight much lower. So
Yeah.
that was a major issue. But thankfully she was kind of integral in that and kind of telling me that I should be shifting towards that, and I did, and that worked out great for a while. Then as part of that, I kind of got hooked up with a bunch of different large investment companies. So then I was, I kind of shifted towards finding deals for them and just bringing them as many deals as I could find, and they would close on them as cash. It was no drama. It was easy, and I love
Yeah.
working with investors because I understand that mindset. Um, but then we sidetracked and we got into another business that was my wife was pretty much the focus of that. So it's called It's a Lovely Life, and it was basically teaching people how to start blogs and travel blogs. We were traveling as a family like 150 days out of each year as
Wow.
a family of five. So that was kind of all consuming, and that was a great business, and it still is a great business. Training people how to kind of do that themselves. And we did that for a number of years, and we built that into multi-million dollar business per year. But we got the itch to kind of get back into the real estate game. I'd
Yeah.
still have my broker's license and everything, but I wasn't doing anything active. I wasn't dealing with any clients. I wasn't buying any deals because we were completely focused on that aspect of things. And then kind of read some stuff. I knew I wanted to get back into investing. I just didn't know kind of what I wanted to get involved in again. And I was reading some stuff online, saw some stuff about people flipping land where they were, it was just kind of anecdotes I was reading. Hey, I bought this property for $10,000. I sold it for 30,000. I was like, well, that sounds pretty cool. That's a great return on investment. And I was kind of telling Heather about that. And she's like, oh, I think be good at that too. So I decided, well, I'll just buy a training program on it. And I did. and kind of I went in, I learned everything I could about how to evaluate these properties and what is specifically the business model is and how to get the leads coming in and pretty much every aspect of it that you know needed to get figured out. And then I just started sending out as much direct mail as I could. So,
Nice.
and then one thing led to another. And then this year, this is our second year in the business. We're on track to do somewhere in between 3.7 and $4 million in revenue, and that's about a 50% gross profit margin on those as well. So
What kind of
on
gross
average,
margin?
about 50%. So on average, when we're buying a property, we try to double it. So we buy a property for
Wow.
50,000, we try to sell it for 100,000.
Wow,
So
good for you guys. That's pretty cool.
yeah.
Good job.
Yeah,
Let
well,
me
thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hey, listen, you don't need my validation. You know, you do not need my approval. You're doing it, and you've got your family behind you. Out of all that stuff, like I love all of it, but the thing that sounds like the most adventurous, the coolest thing is like a family of five. I've got a family of five and a dog, so like five and a half, I
Ah,
guess.
yes.
But like I loved like we bought a camper and we did a little bit of just small travel and such like that. But like that was a part of our life plan. God had different plans for us, but a part of our life plan was to do a little bit of traveling. Like, how did you guys make that work? So it's a lovely life. Like,
Yeah,
could you give me some insider tips on like how you guys did to
sure.
make that work on raising a
Yeah,
family and
there's
traveling and making money?
exactly. Yeah, it was a really interesting period of our lives for sure. And we still love to travel. We still travel probably way more than most people do,
Yeah,
but not to that level. I mean, it all started because my wife had started a blog, and I don't know, it was like 2010, 2012. And at first she was focused on, a blog about saving money. And she really liked that aspect, how to tips for saving money. And then it kind of evolved into more of a, she was just writing about everyday life, about kids and, just lifestyle type topics. And then she got invited on some trips, or we got invited on some trips. And then that kind of snowballed, and
yeah,
that's when the kind of travel blogging thing took off. And um I haven't counted them for a while, but the last time I counted, it was something like 80 travel blogging trips that we went on. And when I say travel blogging trips, these are trips that like either we pitched for, or like a destination like contacted us and said, hey, do you want to come out and create some content and feature us on the blog and or social media, whatever the case may be.
yeah.
And then that was paid for. So so yeah, so we went all over the world, Europe, Hawaii many times, Mexico many times, like Caribbean, all over the place there. I mean, cruises, I mean, just many different things. So it was a great experience. And I think our kids will probably look back on that time frame as something pretty special as well.
Yeah, Pete, that's really cool, man. Before the interview, I said, are there any questions that I can't ask? And you're like, nah, dude, open book. Like we could
Open
share this
book.
kind of stuff. So, what are for like influencers and, bloggers and, this thing and my kids like love watching YouTube travel and like watching other families and such like that. But like some of that stuff, like, they want to do it with me but I'm a little nervous and I'm sure that there's pros and cons for everything. When it comes to I want to be a loving father, I want to be a loving husband, and I want to be there for my kids, and I want to protect them and serve them and love them. What are some of the you would say, Josh, if you're going to do this as a friend, like here's some things to look out for when it comes to
Mm,
being an influencer? Because you guys have did it, rose to the top, made some good money doing it. What are some of the things that you could say, Josh, like be careful about this because
hmm
this could get you? What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't really have a lot of cautionary tales as far as that goes. I mean, I think the audience that we cultivated was pretty much family friendly type stuff. I mean, we
Cool.
did have some random wackos, reaching out and saying
Yeah.
stuff, but that was kind of few and far between. We, Heather did a lot of stuff. A lot of her content was on her blog, and she Instagram as well. But we had, we posted all of our travel videos on YouTube. But we didn't really have many issues. My kids, we kind of raised them to be sort of very responsible with social media. So luckily we didn't have any of them that were kind of going off into like a dark tangent with the social media side of things. So they
Yeah.
got it, they understood it. We always talked to them about those things. So I don't have really any cautionary tales. I mean, I'm sure that if you've got kids that have a personality type that they could go down a rabbit hole in social media in some area you don't want them to go, then it might be good to keep some restrictions there. But
Yeah. You're awesome. The
yeah, thanks.
thanks. So the my daughter's a lot like me, right? Like I have in the past like really I've had to do a lot of work, but validation and approval and it felt really good and I had a decent size like following on whatever, doesn't matter. But I had to get rid of Facebook and I had to like cut back because for me, I found myself like the temptation of that to get my acceptance, approval, and validation from the audience and the thumbs up and the likes. It was like a drug for me. And my daughter, she's a lot like me. She's like my little twin. How do I protect her from that? Because I can't just say, hey, don't have this forever. I gotta give her the tools. Do you mind if I ask you some parenting advice on the Deal Scout?
Yeah, yeah, I don't know how good my advice will be, but I'll try.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, I don't really know how to advise you on that. I mean, it's kind of it's a tough slippery slope, I guess you could say. I
Sure.
mean, social media is great in some ways, but it can also be like really damaging to
Yeah.
kids and people so I don't for me, I can just tell you from my experience and what um I'm the same way. I kind of like approval, and it's addicting when you get approval from outside sources. But I just have to limit myself. Like I'm only going to be on here. Like a couple different times a day. I'll check in, something
Yeah.
like that. But if you let yourself just kind of get all consumed by it, then I just try to keep my focus elsewhere, so I have very little time for it. I guess you could
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
So.
That's good, man. So as you guys were building this, you guys, what are some of the ways we'll get into all sorts of different types of deals in this conversation because you guys are expert deal makers. You guys have learned to do that through media. You learned to do that through a brokerage, REOs, flipping. Like you've done a lot of cool stuff. In the terms of like this, the It's a Lovely Life and what you guys have built there. Like, what are some monetization strategies for content creators out there that you guys have seen work really well, and maybe some things that didn't work?
Yeah, well, one of our big things um was affiliate partnerships.
Yeah.
So um we made about half of our revenue from affiliate partnerships. And when I say half of our so we were for a period of about 3 to 4 years, we were making over 2 million in just 2 million per year in revenue in just that business. And about
Yeah.
half of that was affiliate income.
Wow. So cool.
So we took certain affiliates, and really most of that affiliate income came from our business was about how to start a blog and showing people how to start their blog but also become successful with it. And so one of the big things in that business is the hosting,
Hmm.
the website hosting that you can refer, and that's kind of the first step in the process. You got to get a host set up so you can get a blog started. So we made quite a bit of money from the hosting affiliate relationships. We had other affiliate partners as well that we did well with, but that was the great bulk of that. The other half of our income was from the courses and the programs and the training uh, associated with that business as well. So we gave away a free course. And as part of that free course, we encouraged our students to get their blog started through our hosting recommendation. That's where the affiliate income came through from there. And then we would just kind of offer as much kind of um, free advice and content and everything as we could. And then we would do periodic launches of training programs. So we had one that was kind of blogging in general, and then another one which was focused on travel blogging.
Yeah.
So, and then other income before we got into kind of the training side of things. Heather was making about she was averaging about 30,000 a month just on income from like pretty much corporate partners and things like that. Like
Mhm.
they'd pay her a certain amount for a blog post, they'd pay her a certain amount for Instagram posts. So there was a lot of that, and she was really heavily involved in that for some time. And then she kind of showed people how to get
How to
into
do
that and
that.
do that themselves. So
Ah, man, the power of content, the power of sharing a story, a journey, and showing people how to, giving people tools, right? Giving even free, like giving people tools to do stuff. It builds trust, builds
yep,
credibility, authority, and then you can do deals with them, right? It's brilliant.
that's right.
Really nice job. Um, and she was the brains of the end. From what I heard, you said a few times, and then Heather encouraged me to shift here, and Heather
yeah,
encouraged, and Heather's
yeah, oh,
pushing me to
yeah,
build a podcast. Sounds like
yeah.
she's like the mastermind behind this all, Pete.
She is. She's like the Wizard of Oz, kind of like pulling all
Be-
the levers and stuff.
Behind every
But
decent dude, there's a really incredible woman, and it
yeah,
sounds like that's who she is. All
yeah.
right,
Well, and I'm stubborn in a way, so
yeah,
she really has to when she's really convinced on something. Sometimes she has to. It takes a while for me to come around,
yeah.
but she'll chip away at it until she gets me to.
She will get what she wants, Heather.
Yeah, yeah. That's pretty much a given. Yes.
So, Turning Profits is the name of the podcast that's going to be coming up, sharing your journey, your story, talking about different models that you guys have seen. Can't wait to listen in on that. When that does go live, let us know and we'll push it in front of
Sure.
our people. Um, but you've stumbled into this thing of flipping land and investing in land, and you guys have created a multi-million dollar business. You got systems, processes, and people working for you to do it. Like, talk to us about that. What types of properties do you do and where, right? Like,
Sure.
is it close to
Sure.
home or is it wherever? Like, give us that. What does that look like?
Yeah. So we're in Southern California, San Diego area. And we buy properties all over the country. And most of the properties we actually buy are on the East Coast.
Hmm.
So that's kind of been where our focus has been. We bought properties in a lot of different states, but we never actually go out to step foot on these properties. We have uh visited a few just on a road trip that we did last year. But aside from that, we never see the properties in person. I've got a whole team that kind of makes this all happen, but it all starts with direct mail. So we send out direct mail to these property owners, and we build lists. I use a company called Data Tree, which is a first American company, but it allows you to basically pull property information from all over the country, and we can filter out specifically just for raw land properties. And we look for larger properties at this point. At least kind of 5 acres was our minimum for a little while, but I've since bumped that up to at least 10-acre properties. And, most of the stuff ends up being maybe an hour to 2 hours outside of a major city. And those properties are, considered rural and, maybe don't have a lot of, high-end development potential. But there are a lot of buyers looking for nice quality properties that are either for recreational properties or maybe something where they could build a home on there and just kind of have their own pieces of the world. And the prices are actually pretty reasonable where it really makes sense and people see the value there, especially, since we're getting internet access is going to be everywhere. So I think that's another thing that's kind of driving the fact that people are realizing that, hey, they can work from anywhere they want in a lot of cases, and they don't have to live in a city or commute to work every day.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
um, so yeah, so a lot of those, that's kind of what we do. We look for those properties off market. So we're sending direct mail, and they're either calling us, they're emailing us, they're sending letters back. And then from that point, we, see if we can work out a deal with each of those people. But it all starts like we actually send out an offer to these people, and we base those offer prices off of average sale prices in a particular area or county. And then we back off, what we would need to buy it for in order for it to make sense for us. And we just shoot those offers out to them. And tens of thousands of letters per month is what we send out. Anywhere between 50 and 100,000 letters per month. And
wow.
yeah, so it's a lot of mail and a lot of activity going on. And it's about the deal. Each individual property we've got to evaluate. Is it a good property? First of all, is it a property that doesn't have any issues or no major issues? And is it a property that people would want? and and then what would it take for us to put a deal together? Sometimes we're right on with our offer price. Sometimes when something comes back, it's real estate just like anything else. So that, little sub areas have different values, and it's impossible to really figure that all out doing the volume that we're doing, sending out the mail that way. So, when something comes back, sometimes we were a little too low, sometimes we were a little too high, but regardless, we get that conversation started and seeing
Yeah.
if we can work out a deal with the property owner.
Well, you guys are keeping the United States Postal Service, you're keeping them in shape by, running.
Yeah, definitely.
Holy
You would think
moly.
they would be happy with us, but I don't know. Maybe they're not.
Yeah,
Maybe they
maybe.
don't like the extra work.
Who knows, right? The government. I can't understand them.
Yeah.
Holy moly. So how are you doing all right, so you're sending out, let's just say 25,000 letters or direct mail. Like, how are you determining the value of 25,000 different properties? Or are you saying, hey, we're buying land in this area, $1,000 an acre, or whatever the case may be? Like, how are you doing that at scale?
Yeah, a lot of the counties are pretty that we send to are pretty defined. No, I wouldn't say pretty defined, but at least we can come up with some decent averages or a decent guesstimate of what
Yeah.
what the properties would be worth on average. So we're just looking at online tools like Zillow or Realtor.com and kind of looking at the sales. We'll pull up say the last 12 months in a particular county, anything from 10 to 100 acres, and kind of what the average price per acre retail sales were. And then we back off a percentage. And like I said, we try to double our investment. So we try to buy a property and then double whatever our investment is. And so we just back off that percentage and then we put that in the offer. So say we've determined that retail pricing in a particular area is 3,000 an acre. We might offer them 1,500 an acre.
Ah,
And then it's just a mail merge math thing. So, 20 acre property would then be, what is it, $30,000 or whatever, so
yeah.
that we would offer them.
So they call back and they're like, "How dare you offer me this? Do you know my neighbor
Yes,
just sold for 1 million bucks?" And you're like, "Thank you for
exactly.
calling. Let's talk now." Right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I've got a phone answering service that answers the phone all the time. And their kind of main job is to sort of filter out that because we get, a lot of people, I wouldn't say a lot, but there are people that call every time we send out a batch of mail and they're upset about the price that we offer them. And I can understand that from their perspective. They have this idea in their mind what it's worth, and it may be worth that. I don't know. Like I said, we don't really look into these individual properties before we send out the offers. We're just kind of doing it based off of averages.
Yeah.
But most of those people are not never going to sell to someone like us. They're going to want to retail the property, and the market will eventually tell them what it's worth, not me.
Yeah. So as you guys are doing this, like you guys, you create a mail merge thing, so it kind of like fills in the blank on how many acres, right? Because you could pull
Right.
the property data. So how many acres times average sales price cut in half, and then that prints that on the offer letter,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. It's got their
I get it.
property parcel number, the county they're in, some other basic stuff. First page is kind of a letter introducing us and why we're sending them a letter and what we do.
Yeah.
Second page is an actual purchase agreement. So they can either sign that, email that back, or text it back to us, whatever the case may be, or just call us back and see what we will work out.
Is it a legally binding offer?
It's not, it's not signed by us. The offer
Okay.
is not signed by us when we send it out. So if they send it back signed, obviously we know that they're serious and we
Yeah.
look at it and see if we want to sign it too.
Okay. So that gets the conversation going, right? So if they
Right.
say you send it to me and I'm like, hell yeah, that sounds awesome. I sign it, send it back, and
Right.
you're like, ooh, 60% of that water, land is underwater. We got to adjust. We still want it. But then you call them back and you say, what do you say when that happens? Right? Like you get the
Yeah. Well,
offer back.
I've got a acquisition manager
Yeah.
who her job is to just have all these conversations with the homeowners, either by phone or text, email.
Yeah.
But when it first comes in, I have another lead manager that kind of inputs into our CRM and does some basic evaluations of the property. So, like
Yeah.
you said, 60% of the property is underwater, or it's landlocked, or it's, on the side of a mountain.
Yeah.
Those types of things we would have to adjust the price. And a lot of times those properties we don't want them at all. It would just not make sense even. really at any price. I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, I probably could work out a lot more deals than I do, but I've really tried to focus on buying good properties, because
Sure.
even if I get a property that's got issues, say it's, on the side of a mountain or something like that, or it's got some sort of issues, even if I can get it really cheap and then put it on the market for really cheap, it's going to be a problem. I mean, I
Yeah.
know that at this point. And
Yeah.
it's going to take more time, and it's going to distract me from other deals, which I know will be better for us in the long run. So
Yeah. That's brilliant. So
yeah, I bought a landlocked property one time, and that's kind of how I came up with this whole philosophy, because there's land investors that some of them will focus on just buying landlocked properties or problem properties of some sort. And I bought this like 12-acre property. It was like kind of in a major city, and it was kind of in the middle of this whole kind of subdivision area. And I was like, this is 12 acres, and I was able to buy it for like $3,000, and just like a nothing price on it. I thought, oh, I could easily just sell this for 20 grand or whatever the case is, and
yeah.
just put it on the market and it'll sell right away. But I did get a ton of interest. I bought it, closed on it. I knew it was landlocked. Um, and I did get a ton of interest from people as soon as I put it on the market. And most of them did. Even I put everything in the description. It's landlocked. You could still access it. I mean, you still legally allowed to walk to the property and access it, but you can't do anything with it. Like, you can't build on it. You can't, just kind of a recreation property. But I got so much response on that, and it just took months and months, and I just had to keep reducing it until I got someone that really got it and was interested. And I think I sold it for 5 or 6 thousand, and I still made money on it, but it just
Yeah.
wasn't worth it. And then
Yeah.
after that, I kind of vowed I'm not buying any more landlocked properties. So I'm done
So
with it.
what would be what as you look back on that, and you're looking and you're going, okay, here's where I make the mistake. So landlocked could be good if you could get, easements, or if you could get, if you're able to do something. But why did that property being landlocked restrict it from being built on? Like what could have been done differently, do you think, on this deal that
Yeah,
went
I mean,
wild?
if I would, if it was a better, more quality property, I would probably put some effort into getting some sort of legal easement. And
Yeah.
maybe that's what the person that I sold it to ended up doing. But it had some other issues too. Is like this big gully in the center is a very odd shape, and there was just a lot of things about it that kind of made it not ideal. But there's land investors that, yeah, that's kind of their strategy. They just pick up these landlocked properties for ultra cheap, and then their exit strategy is to try to pay off one of the neighbors to get an legal deeded easement, or they are trying to sell the property to one of the neighboring properties.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
makes sense in that situation. They can expand their property and they could probably pick it up for a pretty good price. But I don't like those because it's kind of um you're very limited on your buyer pool.
Yeah. Yeah. You got
I
8
mean, there's
buyers
gonna
around you. Pick one, right?
yeah,
Hopefully they buy.
exactly. And if none of them want it, none of them had the money to buy it. If they're all going to kind of shut you down as far as being able to pay for an easement from them, then you're kind of stuck.
Was that property was that able to be subdivided?
No, no. It didn't
Oh,
have, it didn't have, if it had access,
yeah.
if it had legal access, then you would have been able to subdivide it.
Yeah.
But
The majority of the properties, as you guys are building the list and such, are you guys like checking on zoning? You're like, this is R1 property versus agricultural property or commercial. Like, how do you guys? What filters do you look for? I
yeah,
know I'm
good
asking all
question.
the secret
Good
sauce.
question.
Hey, all right, good.
Yeah, so that is a whole nother side of things. After we get a property under contract, it kind of sets off this whole chain of events with my team to start working on the due diligence. Now, first of all, we buy every single one of these properties through an attorney, title company,
Sure,
escrow. We do it legit because we want to make sure that there's no problems when we go to resell the property.
totally.
So the attorney, the title company, they're kind of working through the title issues, doing the title search, making sure everything's good there. But my team, like, one of the first things we do is we order a um, photographer, drone photographer, also to go out to the property, walk the property, write up a little report on it, give us a bunch of images, and kind of just like get on the ground and see what the property's like. We also have a whole list of things that we do like we call the city or county, and go through all the checklist of items as far as is it buildable, what are the utilities like, what is the zoning, setbacks, like everything. We've got a whole big checklist of stuff that we ask.
Yeah.
And then we also lean heavily on local broker partners. So we
Yeah.
really try to establish those in areas where we know we're doing a lot of business. So we'll, as part of the process, we'll ask them, what do you think this property could sell for? What do, what kind of concerns do you possibly have about? What do you think about the property? Is it going to be a tough sell? Is it going to stay on the market for a while? What are your concerns? So we get their opinion. We bring them into the process. And then when we close on the property, they get the listing and we resell it with them. So, we try to make it a win-win. So we're not wasting their time, and we pay good commissions. We pay, generally 10% commission to the
Nice.
um, land brokers. So, we try to make it a win-win. So the system all works like it should.
Yeah, that's great. So as you guys are doing this, how do you know, like we bought a piece of land one time and we went to go build on it. We're going through this whole process, and we started digging and there's a gopher turtle or a endangered species. Everybody get off the property right now. And people had to come and dig, and like it was a crazy amount to protect the turtle thing. Love animals. That's awesome. Whole project got shut down because of some endangered
Wow.
species. How do you know when you guys are doing these things? And maybe this is my fear brain, my croc brain kicking in, and it's just like, how do I know I'm not going to get kicked in the nuts again like that in the future from an endangered species? Like, how do you guys know when you're buying that kind of land?
That's tough. I mean, I don't think I would have foreseen that issue. I don't think many land investors would have foreseen that issue. But
Yeah,
oddball stuff like that comes up sometimes. Now, thankfully, I've never lost any money on any deals, so we try to buy them at the right price. And I like the property. I like the bigger properties because there's more than one exit plan. There's
yeah,
more than one exit strategy. So on a 10-acre property, there's always going to be interest from someone that's maybe looking to just have it as a recreational property. Maybe they're just going to drive four-wheelers on it, or
yeah,
who knows what they're going to do. It could also be a place where they build a home, or maybe even subdivide it. Any of those things. But if we run into, sometimes with the building stuff, we try to eliminate as much of that stuff and potential roadblocks as we can, as far as potential buildability of a property.
yeah.
But I guess sometimes things come up. But I do like the fact that if we're buying a property for the right price, then we can still sell it to, say, a recreational buyer, and they're going to be thrilled with the property, and they don't even have any immediate plans to build on it.
Yeah, that's super cool. So as you guys are doing this, you said something, and like my ears just perked. I'm like, holy moly, how do I learn how to do this? I've never lost any money on 'em- on my deals.
Right.
Say that again.
Yeah. Yeah. I never lost any money on any of these deals. So
Oh my gosh, that's awesome because I've lost a bunch of money. Like you do enough deals, you're going to lose money, but never
yeah.
losing, and producing 3+ million in revenue. Like you have, and it's Heather's brain power, but you guys have
Yeah.
stumbled upon like an incredible business model that started with you going, I want to get back into investing. I could do all sorts of this kind of investing, commercial, flipping. I've done it, right? But you
Right.
said, let's do land.
Right.
When you guys were thinking this, besides Heather, you can't use Heather, Heather's a brain power
Right.
anymore. How did you choose land flipping as your specific business model?
It just kind of made sense to me. The more I read about it, the more stuff I was kind of researching online. It was kind of like, it felt pretty low risk to me, because you could buy properties, you know, as low as 3,000. That was my cheapest purchase that I ever did. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some people that buy properties for 500 and they'll sell it for 2,500, with great return on investment. It's just hard to make a lot of money that way.
Yeah.
But so I felt like it was pretty low risk. We could start kind of slow and kind of figure it out. And I was confident with my experience that I could buy properties right, because I always focused on that. Like I feel like I've got a I don't know. I feel that's like one of my superpowers is like buying right. So I feel
Yeah.
like I feel like I can do that, and I've always understood, what it takes to buy right, and what something is actually worth if presented properly. So I feel like feel like I'd be good at that. So it just kind of made sense to me. And she was on board with it too. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna try to make this work. And it just kind of started snowballing as soon as the first year we did. It wasn't even a full year. It was 2021. We resold our first property in March of 2021, and then for that year we ended up doing over 1.2 million, about the same gross profit margin. So that was a good kind of partial first year. And then 2022, I was like, oh, I know I could do much better than that. I figured out some lessons along the way. So, we're probably going to triple that for, I mean, for 2022. 2021 was the 1.2. And I want to triple it again for next year. But so it just, the business model made sense to me. Like I knew that
Yeah.
you can drive as much business as you want if you send out more mail.
Yeah.
So that's very easy for me. Like I can set up a mailing schedule and be like, okay, we're going to send 50,000 this month, 50,000 next month. Like I can be very consistent with that. I'm very good when it comes to that type of thing. So I knew that we could, if I could figure out how to evaluate properties, right,
Yeah.
in the land space, that I was very confident we'd do well with it.
Yeah.
And the other part, the other thing I really liked about the business, honestly, is the hold times. Now, I had always kind of assumed that land was it was a long-term game. You buy a
Yeah.
property and you hopefully you're in the path of progress, and one of these days you're going to hit a home run on it, but it may take 10 to 20 years for that to come to fruition. But this model is really completely different. Our average hold time is 60 days. And
Really?
that's the time that we actually close on the purchase of the property to the amount of to when it actually resold.
Holy
So that's,
moly.
yeah. So it's a very quick hold time situation. So if you're kind of annualizing some of these returns, so say for instance, I bought a property for 20,000 and I sold it for 40,000 and some change. So I netted, 40,000 out of it and I doubled my money.
Yeah.
And it was an average hold time, say 60 days. So that's 100% return in 60 days. And if you
Yeah.
annualize that, you could do that theoretically. If you kept that money moving, you could do that 6 more times in the course of a year. So, I mean, if you compounded it, those numbers would be astronomical. But if you just multiplied out like 6 times 100%, like if you did that every 2 months, um, I mean, you're looking at a 600% return on your money. It's crazy. So
Jeez, I need an abacus to like figure out what that
yeah,
how much that is.
I don't know if it was easy for me to follow or not, to follow me or not, but I was thinking in my mind how it all works,
I'm
but
trying to like picture a pie graph and a chart and all this stuff, and I'm like, man, I'll need my 9-year-old daughter to reteach me how they do math now.
yeah,
They do math different now. It's
yeah,
weird.
they do. I
I
know.
have to learn it again because I don't know how to do math. So you mentioned your superpower is the ability to buy right. In real estate, you make money on the purchase. Like that's where the real
Yep.
money's made when you buy right. Now, what would your superpower, what would your superhuman name be? Like if you were a superhero, it can't be buy right. What would your superhero name be if you were one?
That's another good question, Josh.
Thank you.
I got to
Hey,
think
and
of
I'll let
something
you guys in
catchy.
on a secret. Pete and I are playing the game right now. So if I stump him and he goes, "That's a good question," we have a donor advised fund that we invest in kingdom driven businesses and nonprofits and such like that. So I have a game with my guests going when they say that's a good question. They, it could be $1. What it doesn't matter. It's a game that we play. So just letting you guys in on the little secret we got going. But sorry, back to you. What would be your superhero name?
Um,
We could come back to it if you want.
yeah, nothing's coming to my head. I don't know. I need to think of something good, not just throw out something crappy.
It's got to be something like
Maybe it'll come to me.
with like dirt or land or like parcel or who knows. We'll figure it out. To be continued, TBD on that one.
Yes.
Have you ever considered like holding the notes on these guys after you buy them? You buy them really right, and like you find a neighbor and you're like, "Hey, I'll hold the note on it, 2 grand down, which covers the purchase price, or 10 grand down, and then I'll hold the note over the next 15 years." Have you ever done something like that?
I haven't done it personally, but there are some land investors, that's their entire business model. That's what they
Yeah,
look for. They want the note portfolio. Um, for me personally, I'd rather take my profits and reinvest it into buying additional properties. I think the money's going to compound a lot faster that way, and then take the profits and put it into other, other investments that are a longer term hold.
So you,
So, but I have started working with another investor they want notes. So what they will do, like I can, when we go to resell a property, I can say, hey, owner financing available. It's not actually me that's going to carry it, but it's them that's going to step in. They're going to buy the note at closing at a discounted rate, but it would still make sense for me to do the deal at that price.
yeah, super cool. Um, Man, I was definitely going to ask you about the hold times. That's great. And it's you're pushing through local brokers and you're, paying an incredible, 10% for this. Like, so they're incentivized, like, let's get this thing. And then they're calling you up and they go, hey, let's get more. How do we get more? How do we get more?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, Brilliant model, brilliant model. Because if you try to do it yourself, you don't know the local industry. You don't know that you
Yeah.
got to jump through a bunch of hoops. You guys have mastered the art of acquisition, right?
Yeah.
And that's good. And you're beating the local brokers to the deal, which is brilliant. Nice work. As you
Oh,
guys are
and I,
going,
I try to refer them business as well. Sometimes, we may be talking to a property owner, and they may say, we may have offered them, for instance, $50,000,
yeah,
and they may come back and say, "Oh, we need 75,000 to put the deal together." And then I've talked to the broker, and the broker's like, we could sell it for 100,000, but there's not enough spread for me really at that, to buy it for 75 and sell it for 100. I mean, it would probably still work, but it leaves you, it's riskier, you know,
yeah,
for the unforeseen, and maybe you got the market a little wrong. So in those type of situations, what we try to do is connect the property owner and the broker, and just say, hey, we can't make that happen, but I bet you if you list this property with this broker, this really good broker that we know, that he could probably get you that price. So
yeah.
then we try to make that connection and see if they can do a listing. And I don't look for a referral fee or anything. I just try to, do that
Really?
in the
Why
interest of
not?
goodwill.
Because you're handing over great dedeals, and I mean, you guys are experts into the affiliate model, and I mean, those could be 25% of 5% of a $100,000 sale. I mean, that turns into, I can't do math. I don't have my abacus, but it could be a couple grand here and there.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think that we could get some income off of that, but I also feel like the goodwill that it builds maybe will be worth more. That's
Yeah.
kind of my theory.
Do you believe in karma or,
Oh
goodwill or
yeah.
like put it out in
Hmm.
the universe?
Yeah.
When has that ever bit you in the butt as a deal maker?
I can't remember a time,
Man, never
honestly. I
made
mean, there
money.
may have been.
Karma's never bit me. You must be a good dude.
I try to be. I tell my wife I am, but
But she's the brain
uh,
power. She sees right through your
yeah, I
shit.
know. I'll tell you, I don't know. I haven't had a lot of, major issues or problems. I just try to do what's right. And, with all of my relationships with any of the vendors I deal with, or
Yeah.
property owners that we deal with, I try to do the right thing. And it generally works out okay.
Yeah. Now you guys are influencers, you're investors, you're building some really great businesses. You got some sharp, sense about you. You see stuff, whether it's on TikTok or YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook, fill in the blank, and you see a guru telling people how to, invest or whatever, and you're like, I see through that. That's bullshit. Like, like what are some things that you're seeing in the industry right now that you're like, maybe not for me, but here's how I would do it differently. Have you seen any of that? Do you have any examples that come to mind? And please don't call the person's name out. Like
Yeah, no.
I don't want any more hate mail. I get enough of that from my other shows.
I wouldn't call anyone out. I mean, I understand it from their perspective. I mean, they're, especially from being in the business where we were doing the blogger training, it's kind of a similar thing in that there's generally selling a training program of some sort.
Yeah.
And and the ones that bother me are the ones that are clearly not doing what they're training about. Maybe they were doing it a little bit, but they may not have reached that kind of master level, which I think you kind of need to in order to really um and to really do a good job with the training side of things. So I think those are the ones that bother me, I guess.
Yeah. They're not eating their own dog food, right? Like they're
Right.
selling it, but they're not doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I found myself, and I had to course correct where I was, consulting or, advising for companies. And then I looked back and I go, holy crap, I'm not doing this myself. And I'm like, I was like, man, we need to pause here and we need to eat our own dog food and then go back out and do
Right.
it better for them. So yeah, I agree with you. When I see people and when I see people doing that, it bothers me because I think that there's a lot of good-willed people out there who want to succeed in life and create some investment money so their kid could get braces or whatever, fill in the blank.
Right.
And
Right.
yeah, so yeah, I agree with you. You and I are aligned there.
I think as long as you're kind of, if you're doing your training program or anything kind of based on the fact that like, here's what I do, here's what works for me, here's the model, not like what you should do, what you should do. Like, this is what I know works. I can teach you everything about my business, how you could set up your business the same way. I'm very confident that it would work for you if you did all these steps because I'm doing it. I know it's working, that
Yeah,
type of thing. So if you go from that perspective, I think those type of people are a lot more successful.
yeah. What's the biggest piece of land you've ever bought?
656 acres.
656 acres. Holy moly.
Yeah.
What side of the world was that in?
It was in North Carolina. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Could I ask
So
some details about that? Like
sure. Yeah. Let's
what did
break
that
it down.
cost?
That cost 315,000,
Okay. What did you sell it for?
595,000.
What was your acquisition cost like in terms of like mailers and driving back and forth and drones and all that?
Yeah. On each deal, as far as our direct mail costs go,
Yeah.
we average, last year it was a little bit less, but this year it's about $3,000
Okay.
per deal. If we
Okay.
if we take all the mail that we sent out and kind of figured out how much that costs us and then break it down by the number of properties bought, it's about 3,000 per property. Is that
Okay.
kind of overhead? And then it depends on the property and everything, but a lot of times we're paying 200 to 400 for the photography. Um, we have some other due diligence things that we order, which are relatively minimal. And then the closing, it depends on if there's back property taxes that we're paying or whatever we worked out in the deal. It might
Yeah.
be 1,000 or two, you know, transaction costs that we pay on the acquisition side.
Sure. So it's
Yeah.
not quite 100% return on the money, right?
Not on that one. No.
But a huge that's a really great win.
That's a
That's
lot of
a
money. That was an interesting one in itself. Like, in this business, you can either buy them yourself, like with your own money,
yeah.
or there are people out there who are kind of the money partners that they will step in, they'll put all the money, but then you split the deal with them.
Yeah.
And I've done, almost 100 deals at this point, and I've only done two partner deals. And um that was one of them, because it was $315,000 at the purchase price. But so, anyhow, at the end of the day, me and a partner, the partner wired the money to close the deal. We were partners on the deal, so I managed all the marketing with the broker and kind of made sure it got sold, and then we split the profits. So I didn't put, it was a very good deal for me, and it was a very good deal for him as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was something like $115,000 or something like that we generated from it, and I didn't even put any money out of pocket.
Yeah. And then your half of that was, 60.
Well, that was my half.
Yeah, obviously I don't know how to do math.
Yeah, I mean, but it was a very good chunk of change, and it was, he profited that much as well. And so it was I don't know, 4-month hold time, something like that. So it took a little longer to sell, bigger property,
Yep.
but we started a little higher and then kind of worked our way down, reduced the price until we
Was
found
that
our buyer.
that's obviously zoned a large agricultural
Yeah,
track.
yeah. It's
Okay.
just kind of it's just kind of an agricultural recreational type property. I'm sure you could build many homes on the property.
Sure.
650 acres is just like immensely large. It's
For
hard to even get that perspective,
yeah.
until you're actually at a property. You're like, okay, this is what 1,000 acres looks like. Just blows your
It's
mind.
remarkable. And you're in
Hmm.
California, so you guys live
Yeah.
in, like how big is your how big is your land in where you guys live? Like
Yeah.
in like
Well,
a
we've got a home in North County, San Diego, which is kind of like 10 miles from the ocean by the way the bird flies. So we've got 4 acres there.
Okay, cool.
We're trying to relocate towards the beach, so we're actually renting a home at the beach before until we can find what we want to buy.
Yeah,
So the one we're on right now, I mean, it's a great spot. I'm looking at the ocean right in front of me, but
cool.
it's I don't know, it's probably 5,000 square foot lot, which
Yeah,
is, you know,
yeah, it's
an
tiny.
eighth of an acre, something like that. So
California is so unique in how they do real estate. But you're looking at the outside, doing looking at the ocean while doing podcasts. Sounds pretty cool.
yeah, not too bad.
Not too bad. Do you surf?
No, no, I need to learn though, because I watch all the surfers right out my window, but you know,
Yeah.
I grew up in Pennsylvania, so we didn't have a lot of waves there.
Got it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're gonna need a wetsuit because that water's chilly. West Coast water's chilly. Good
Yeah.
waves. Chilly, chilly,
Yeah.
chilly.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Hey, so many other questions that I have, but like what I want to do is give you an opportunity for people in the audience who are like, I want to do a deal with you. Like, I don't know what it looks like, whether I'm giving you some of my money and like I'll split a deal with you, or I want to find deals. Like, there's people out there who want to do deals with you. I just know it. What's a
Right.
good place for them to connect with you and do a deal?
Yeah. Turningprofit.com.
Okay.
So just go to there and there's all of our ways to connect with us, email, social media, all those things will be on there, and reach out. I love hearing from people, and please do reach out if you want to partner or do a deal together. That would be great.
Cool. Pete, there's probably a question I should have asked you during this interview, but I screwed up and I'm like, I chased some rabbits down some trails. What question should I have asked you during this interview?
You might have asked me a variation of this, but I like the question, like, what is it that you like about the land business?
Sure.
And for me, especially in an environment that where we're in, where we don't really know where the market's going. You hear people talking about it's going to crash, and you hear people saying that it's not going to crash, all this kind of stuff. I really like the aspect of the business that it's based off of really short term holds. So it allows us to pivot quickly. So if the market is starting to go down, we can adjust our purchase prices accordingly. Like we can say, okay, I need to be more aggressive on our purchase prices, or I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
So that gives it more protection, and you get a real good pulse on the market where you need to be. So that's the thing I like about it most, at least right now.
Do you, I got to ask a few questions. I said that was going to be the last question. I screwed up.
Oh,
We
that's
got more.
okay. Ask as many as you want.
We got more questions there, Pete. How many acres are currently in holding pattern, waiting to be sold?
Waiting to be sold. I'd have to check my spreadsheet, but as far as acres go, probably 400 to 500 acres, something like that.
Super cool. Do you
But
prefer? Go ahead.
it's like a bunch of different properties. Could be 10-acre property, it could be a 50-acre property. So it's kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
mix and match, I guess.
Yeah. Do you guys have them like marked out like on a Google map or something like that where you could kind of like pinpoint to all the properties you've ever bought?
I should do that, but no, that's a good
Yeah.
idea.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
when we were doing land stuff, we I printed out this huge map on the wall and we put pins in to kind of like show like the impact and track that we did. It was fun, but
I like it.
it was appealing to me. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, no,
Give
that would
that a
be cool. I
shot.
need to. I'm not much of an artist or visual type person, I guess. So I need to hire someone to do that. But I like the idea. I think it'd be cool to visualize. So
Yeah. Cool. Pete, you're awesome, man. I can't wait for you guys to do your podcast show. You're gonna have so much fun. And I've got some friends that I'll connect you with that, can help you guys share your message. So thanks for coming
great.
on today's show, dude. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Josh. It's a great time, and love the conversation. And maybe we can do it again someday.
Yeah, let's do some deals. Fellow deal makers in the audience, as always, reach out to our guests. Say thank you. Thank you for sharing your ideas, your business model, like opening up the books and the kimonos to kind of show like here's how we do it. And that's the purpose of the Deal Scout. Reach out to them, find a way to do a deal. If you would like to do the same and like to come on the show, head over to thedealscout.com, fill out a quick form, and maybe we'll get you on the show next. Love you guys, and we'll talk to you on the next episode. Bye, everybody.